Welcome to another episode of Friend Outdoors.
On today's episode, we've moved into my absolute favorite time to hunt whitetails. I love hunting the first 10 days of November, and my personal best results have came between November 2nd and November 8th. So in November, I try to spend as much time as possible in my favorite tree stands. Today, we've decided to go back to an elevated blind where we had some good action just 2 days before. Our trail cameras in the area have picked up, and we feel that a good buck will show up at any time. Just after daylight, and some does have shown up at the field we're watching. This is a great start. Here's what happens. Just after daylight, this group of turkeys has showed up on the edge of the field. Here we have the first deer of the morning to show up. After just a little bit, 2 more does decide to show up into the field. Something down in the woods has gotten these two does' attention. Eventually, another doe emerges from the woods, but it sounds like something else is coming. As this buck enters the field, he decides to stop at a scrape and a licking branch. As you can see here, this buck is very interested in this one doe. My heart began to sink right here because I knew what was going to happen next. As this buck is leaving, I begin to panic. My best guess is he's about 40 yards. Unfortunately, this buck just stepped out of frame, but I was at full draw and I was already committed. So I settled my 40-yard pin and hit the release. I felt like I hit the buck pretty good, and over the hill he went. Because it seemed like this doe didn't want to leave the field and that buck was so interested in her, I felt like if I did miss the buck, he would return to the field to chase her some more. But when he didn't show up, it made me feel a lot better about my shot. Eventually, this younger buck showed up and he decided to chase that doe. After about 30 minutes of waiting and the deer had all left the field, I made my way over to where the buck had been standing and I found my arrow. But unfortunately, it was completely clean as I'd shot just underneath the buck and over the hill he went back into the timber. I decided to get back into the blind and hope that either he would come back or another good buck in the area would show up. When I checked my trail camera, I realized it got a video of this buck as he come into the field. As I'd sit in the blind all day, later in the evening, this buck decided to show up and check out the field. None of the does that were in the field seemed to interest him, so back over the hill into the timber he went in search of another doe. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Boy, this one's going to sting for a while. We're in early November here, and we knew that the bucks would be cruising, and I felt like it was just a matter of time before I got an opportunity at a good buck. This particular buck, I didn't know he'd made it. Last year I got 2 videos of him. Just 2 times did he show up on the farm. He was making a scrape. In fact, he's on one of the shorts if you look close. This year his rack looked the same, it was just bigger. He put on probably 15, 20 inches of horn. I believe that buck was probably Pope and Young caliber. But when he come up there, I felt pretty good. I had him at about 25 yards. But when that doe turned and went the other way, I knew I was in trouble because you could watch him and he was just following her. So when he turned, this self-filming stuff, I tried to keep him in frame, but hurry and get me a good shot. And when I ranged him for 40, he took a few more steps over the hill, and I just shot underneath of him. So this one's going to hurt for a while, but at least I got an opportunity. I got a lot more bucks that's bigger than that in the area. So I hate that I missed, but at least I got to see one. Again, it's early November. Things are starting to happen. We want to thank you guys for watching today's episode. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please hit that thumb up like button. We really appreciate it. And think about subscribing to our channel. Again, it doesn't cost you anything. On this channel, we got a bunch of short videos of a lot of different animals. We think you'll enjoy it. We'd also like to thank our military personnel. Thank you for your service. Now for a preview of an upcoming episode on Friend Outdoor Adventures.